Hello and welcome to the Voice of Bold Business Radio, where we are holding our very first live streamed radio show. This is in addition to our internet distribution that we've been doing since last October. And with me today, the best way to go is to really talk about what the plan is with the show, what we decided to do about providing more content and information for you and for us to make it fun and to make it useful in your everyday life. And so Scott and Eva, very integral part of my team for the Voice of Bold Business and really Red Direction in general, so thank you guys, is all about the planning, the review of the plan, what we came up against, and really talking about now what's happening next. So the plan review, where we're going, and what things we're still figuring out, like the technology. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for having us on this inaugural broadcast of the live show for Voice of Bold Business. I am just thrilled to be here with both you, Jess, and also with Eva. And Eva, could you introduce yourself, please?
Well, thank you so much, Scott. Well, what can I say after Jess already said? We are integral parts. I'm honored and humbled. And I'm also, very, very happy to be here and share what we have to share and even have a few laughs at our own expenses because, we are figuring things as we go. And if nothing else, I hope that, the audience will have a good laugh and good time. So when it comes to technology, well, Scott is there to fill the gaps. So.
Love it. Okay, so what's happening behind the scenes is that Eva is a big part of the tweets and watching for our hashtag. So the first thing that you guys must know to be an integral active part of our live stream is the hashtag. So we may find you not only in the YouTube comments here as we're live streaming, also on Twitter and maybe even Facebook. We'll have to see how much bandwidth we have and how many screens we can look at one time. So we're going to go with that. And what's our hashtag?
Well, our hashtag is VBB Radio. It's
VBB, Voice of Bold Business Radio.
Yes, that's our hashtag. So if you have any questions, feel free. Just, type in on Twitter and we'll answer your questions, your queries, anything that you want to know about the Voice of Bold Business or what we do.
Love it. Thank you, Eva. All right. So now I'm going to just ask a question because it's not something that's come up yet and it happens to go with the flow of the show. So Scott, forgive me for putting you on the spot. Do we have a way to play the open?
Yes, we do, as a matter of fact. And just to prove it, here it comes.
Welcome to the Voice of Bold Business, the show that provides everything smart leaders need to evaluate situations, build relationships, and create solutions. Jess Dewell candidly talks about the skills necessary to build tenacity and do more with less. And now, here's Jessica.
Take it away.
It is such a cool introduction. Okay, so this is one of the things that we are still working out the details on. When will we run the open of the show? Which is good. I love it. That's like one of my favorite things is the creative part and how that creates consistency over time in our message, because it will be not only in our recorded shows that air on Friday, but also our live stream shows on Tuesdays. Okay. Let's talk about our plan.
I have an idea, since this is our first live program and we may have some new listeners and viewers. I was wondering if I could put you on the spot now. Turnabout is fair play.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So the idea being is, could you tell us a little bit more about the Voice of Bold Business, what it's all about, its mission, your essentially your elevator speech regarding the Voice of Bold Business?
Oh, Scott, you know me. I don't have an elevator speech. What I do have is the rest of the information, though. So it's never the same twice. And the Voice of Bold Business was created because there are a lot of people out there that talk about leadership. And leadership is a set of personal traits and personal awareness. Yet that is very different than having leadership in a leader role within an organization. Sometimes, and we all know of today, as well as known people in the past, that are in a role of leader where they have responsibility and accountability to the bottom line, to the organization for effectiveness and results. Yet, we all know they don't know what they're doing. And sometimes they don't even know what they're doing. So I've felt like that at times. I mean, you guys know me personally. Here I am, not only running the Voice of Bold Business, running Red Direction and a team there as well. And you know, there are times I don't know what I'm doing. And this show is for people who go, wow, I'm accountable and I'm responsible, and I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. Yet I feel really alone, and where do I go? Voice of Bold Business is a place to come to hear other people share their experiences, share their philosophies, share stories that work, and also stories of things that didn't work. Because it's when we're able to talk freely and we can learn from each other. And while we might feel alone in our organization, we don't have to feel alone as a leader and an effective leader.
Well stated.
Mind if I pitch in just with one thing?
Yes, I do not mind.
Leaders don't know what they're doing. It's not that they don't know because they're ignorant or because they don't know their jobs, you know. It's because they have too much on their plate. And the organizing all that takes a lot of energy and a lot of time, and on many occasions, we can bypass that by listening to other people and their experiences. So it's not about that they don't know what they're doing. They know. They just need a little space to take that breath, you know? I
agree. And I would say, when we don't feel like we know what we're doing, there's more to learn. And when we think other people don't know what they're doing, there's communication problems. And that's one of those things where, I mean, what I'm talking about is super broad strokes. You're right. I am not saying people are ignorant. It could be not only is there overwhelm, it could be nobody showed this person who is now in this role what it means to be in this role beyond the task that they excel at that got them into the position in the first place.
Well, that's one of the things that, Eva, that's one of the things that I really appreciate about the show. And I think back in earlier days when I was starting off in middle management or managing a television studio. And, you know, the corporation provided a lot of in-service training for us, which was great. But so often nowadays, people are more on their own. They might be entrepreneurs, they might be on their own track, and quite frankly, a lot of businesses provide less training now than they did before. So it's great to have a mentor, it's great to have another resource, and podcasting is one of those great ways to go. Love video, mind you, but boy, you sure can double task when you're listening to a podcast, right, Jess?
Well, you can double task when we're on right now, but I don't want to hear that. And when you're listening to my podcast on iTunes or Stitcher or someplace else, right? The Voice of Bold Business on your preferred listening platform, I don't want you to be doing two things at once. Scott, though, the reality is we probably are.
Well, yeah. What I mean by double tasking is that someone might be jogging, they might be commuting, that sort of thing. I'm not necessarily saying that you're going to be reading something like Moby Dick and listening to the show at the same time. Though who knows, maybe the combination of the two would offer some interesting who knows what who
knows? I love that, Scott. I love that. Well, okay, so, a year ago, we're turning 1. Voice of Bold Business Radio is turning 1 in October. And it's been a really fast year and it's been a really long year. I want to hear from you guys. What were the parts that you were like, what is she talking about? What are we supposed to be doing? And I have to tell you guys, because I live in the future. I'm totally okay with that. I see the end goal and I'm operating as if I'm already at the end goal. And I forget sometimes that there are very important key steps along the way. And this is something that when we know how we are, when other people say stuff about us, which is why I can totally ask this, I can go, yeah, okay, I'm going to use this to make my interactions a little better. But also, we have to figure out how to work together. So I'm curious from you guys' perspective, what was easy and what was hard about this last year?
Go ahead, Eva.
Oh, okay. So I'll go first. Well, working with you guys was actually easy. We have great relationship, and I think that's important for having a good project and some creative freedom, and at the same time having people on the other side that you can just talk to and say, I have this issue, let's see how can we resolve, or we have this idea, let's see how can we make it, how can we make it real, put it in reality. But as a strategist, I was always asking myself that question, where are we going with this? What's the point? Where's the goal? That's my constant question. Not that we don't have a mission, that's beyond the point, but I constantly keep asking, what's next? Where are we going to do with this? Where are we going to, how are we going to place this? How are we going to promote this? How are we going to push it forward? Because we are going to turn 1 year at the end of October, 18th of October, right?
Yeah.
And my plan, and Scott, we didn't have time to talk about this, but we do really need to make a party, starting October 1st. So we don't have much time flies. So as you can see, I'm always looking forward, and well, maybe you might not like this, but as you say, Jess, we have businesses because we solve certain problems. And business is business only if you have profit. We're not working for peanuts. We're not in businesses because we just like it. Otherwise, it would be a hobby. So one of my concerns always is how to monetize something. So that's where my small, wheels are turning in my head, for the past 2-3 weeks, because it's time. It's always time. Yeah,
I really like that you're bringing that up, because you're right. There's this concept of the short-term goals as well. What are the actions we take to get to these short-term goals in addition to this longer-term vision? Which, by the way, for those of you who are listening, you may not know this. The Voice of Bold Business was a 2-year project before I expected to see anything. So we're halfway through.
Yeah,
and we're seeing things. I mean, people are listening. We've got engagement and conversations happening, both through email and through Twitter a lot of the time. And more people are stopping by to check out the show and see what's going on. So we are on the path.
And not to forget this, we had on Voice of Bold Business Radio so many great guests, and all those guests, 98% of them can be found on social media, on Twitter, and people can and should connect with them because they share beyond Voice of Bold Business Radio, and that's a really good 1 year legacy, so to speak, because those people really have something smart to say and share.
They do. And so the Voice of Bold Business is a little bit like a gateway to really cool people that have more to say on topics that will help us personally and professionally. I love that point, Eva.
Yeah. So both of you took my thunder away because you asked me to kind of recall the last year of the Voice of Bold Business. And the one thing that I've noticed most of all is that the guests that you've had have been a steady stream. You have a good balance, and the quality of the information has just been getting better and better all the time, to the point where I'm excited and I like to share some of the shows that you've done, Jess, with friends and colleagues, simply because it's such a valuable, because your guests have so many valuable things to say. And I'm also reminded that the team that you've surrounded yourself with is not a rookie at this. You had, you may recall that you sponsored a series of videos in a summit a couple of years.
How could I forget?
Well,
which both of you guys were a part of too.
It was a huge undertaking, and that's really where we cut our that's where we cut our teeth, right?
Mm-hmm. It is, and anybody who's listening, summits online, especially free summits online, are really everywhere right now, and this is something I would consider again, provided there is an interest around the topic of business and things in business, what it means to lead versus what it means to have leadership, whatever that is, consider it an open option. I want to know, Eva's going to want to know, Scott's going to want to know, and we may consider it. I will say right now that I'm not a big fan of free, really amazing content. I mean, this show is free at the moment. This show is made to connect people that want to learn, and then to take it deeper. We need skin in the game. We always need skin in the game. And I'm not talking like $500 or $1,000 or anything like that. I'm talking like $25, $35 per day, just because we want you to be committed to coming as much as we want to provide great content for you. So I just now outlined this. You guys better help me remember when we get to this, because we now have a summit, provided the time is right and there's interest. Scott.
Well, you heard it here. You heard it here first on the Voice of Bold Business, right?
It is. Yeah. Well, okay. So tell me this, the three of us have very different personalities. That's putting it, just very simply, how different we are. I'm very curious about how the workflow. What's the workflow that you have found that fits with us? And maybe contrast that, not necessarily, if you want to tell all, fine. This is a tell all show. However, at least this episode is. However, how does working in a team here differ from other teams that you've worked on?
Well, I'll go ahead.
Previous teams you've worked on with me, because our people have been very different, from the summit to the Jess plus Scott show to the Voice of Bold Business.
Well, I'll go ahead and go first this time. The workflow, there are just so many moving parts for the Voice of Bold Business, because it's combining the people skills necessary to have not only the working team on the production side, but also the talent side, the people in front of the cameras. And boy, there've just been so many great guests and people that we've met in the last year. And then then from the technical point of view, things just have to be very precise. So, as an example, we discovered a wonderful online database that keeps everything straight. It's called, do you mind if I go ahead and give it a plug, Jess?
Please give it a plug. The whole purpose is so that other people can learn from us, and they need to check this out.
So, for example, there's a service called Airtable, and it allows you to create tables that have all of our programs, and every piece of information that we need to share with each other regarding each program is contained in that table. And then there's another table which is akin to a column in a spreadsheet, and that has every guest that has ever been on, with every possible detail that we would want from them, including their name and their website and their profile image, and a few other things. And one of the things that another teammate does is to send out a form to guests. So if you're watching this program and you'd like to be a guest, contact Jess. And one of the things that will happen is you'll receive an online form to fill out in terms of the information about yourself that is automatically populated in this spreadsheet, in this database. So all of this comes together. Every week, Eva will be sending me graphics, and those graphics will be shared on the website she shares with all of us. So Amanda puts it on the website, I put something on the YouTube channel. It's just a coordinated effort by all of us. So that's what I would say in answer to your question, Jess.
And it works well. It's not like we had in every process you do have like bumps on the road, but basically, we made everything work so well. So I think that what Scott said is finding it's really important, not just to have a good people that you work with, but if you want to enhance their productivity and save their time, you really need to have and use the right tools. I mean, technology can be difficult or it can be easy in terms that it makes our lives easier, our work easier. So having all this in one place, not chasing information across the, Trellos and Google Drives and, Excel sheet or anything else. We are not having these numerous emails back and forth populating our charts. No, everything is in one place. Everything is accessible and easily accessible. So,
by the way, we started out with those other things that Eva was talking about. And in fact, and why do we do that? We've got this idea. We have a deadline. We have an objective to get to. We're going to use what we know because we're fast at it. And it's once the team comes together and we figure out where the breakdowns occur, where we could be more productive, where things could be easier in the workflow, that items and new technologies naturally come into play. And I think it took Scott a lot of courage to to speak up about Airtable because I'm pretty decisive. Scott, I can be an
at all.
In the mud.
It was as easy as falling off a log.
No, for me, it was like, I'm practical,
You are.
I don't know who said it first, but it was like, hey, Scott has like new tool that he would like us to try, it will make our lives easier. And I said, yeah, sure. If it makes our lives easier, why not? I'm easy, I'm practical, and I'm like very, logical when it comes to that. If it's easy, if it's everything in one place, I have nothing against it. Bring it in, just give it away, and let's start working. And for me, it was exactly in that way, So just so you know, Scott, it wasn't me. I was happy. I was very happy about it.
Well, my sense was that everyone was happy about it. I'm just kind of breaking in here, and then I'll give it back to you. Jess, that's one of the advantages of being the technical director, right? Anyway, what I guess I was going to say is that there's a new way of doing business, and Jess and Eva have heard me say this before. I think that we're in revolutionary times. Things are very disruptive. You no longer have to have brick and mortar and a boss, per se, to come together to accomplish something. People from around the world can gather online. They each have their own specialty. They choose people they like to work with and they have good rapport with. They come together, they do something, and then they depart, and then they come together again in different ways. It needs leadership, and that's why we have our fearless leader, Jessica. But that doesn't mean that we don't all have our own stake in the game, skin in the game, and we're not all part of it. So this just, to me, is the way of the future. It's disruptive, and it's terrific. It's a case study of 21st century way of doing business, in my opinion.
I agree. And to be honest, we haven't even scratched the surface. I mean, technology is moving faster than we can adopt it. So we have people and companies talking about digital transformation and artificial intelligence and machine learning and all that kind of stuff, and not many companies or many people actually know what that technology is. So I think that we are better prepare ourselves for the ride of our lives, when we start, getting and digging more into technology.
You are listening to the Voice of Bold Business Radio. This is program 86. Yeah, you heard it. Our first live streamed program is number 86. So there are 85 amazing programs waiting for you to subscribe and listen to catch up and see what Scott and Eva have been talking about when they're talking about the types of guests that we have had. And today we're talking about what we've learned so far. And it's a real discussion about the plan that we made, the bumps that we've had along the way, the bumps we're having now as we transition into the next phase of the Voice of Bold Business with live streaming, and maybe, provided there's time, we can dream a little bit and dream together a little bit too. How much of this stuff is in our control, do you guys think?
How much is in our control?
Yeah, of the steps that we're taking.
Of the stuff that we're taking.
Steps.
Oh, the steps that we're taking. It's boy, that's a great question, because how much control? I would say that we're all on kind of a learning curve. So to that degree, we're all pretty ambitious, and our grasp is always a little bit further than our reach. So it's perpetually, as in this phase, a little bit out of control. But not so much as to hopefully not so much as to institute a failure mode. So I guess that would be my answer, is that while we're learning and while we're growing, we're kind of barely in control, and when we get a little stability, we take it to the next level, just a little beyond where we were before. What do you think, Jess and Eva?
I think that we have this illusion that we can control everything and that we control everything. But every now and then we get that slap of reality, and we say, okay, actually we control less that we would love to control, that we would feel comfortable about. So we can control a lot of things. We can control the quality of the content. We can control for example, distribution of it. There are a lot of stuff that are fixed. But actually, as long as we learn something new, as long as we want to provide something new and better, there is, as Scott said, this learning curve, and there will always be something that we don't know or don't know enough. Same goes with this live broadcasting. The point is, I'm always comfortable with one thing. No matter how things are out of control, if we provide a quality, if people can learn something out of this, then I don't care if it's totally under control or totally uncontrolled, So I get the strength from that.
I like that. You guys answered so well. I was going to say there's very little that's in control of us. I mean, I know I can make a deadline, and I know you guys can make a deadline, and I know we can have checklists, right? We've got our live stream checklist. We've got a regular show checklist. We've got the green room checklist. We've got the post-production checklist. We've got Airtable with all of our people in it. We've got the website to update. We've got the transcriptions that are coming. We've got the program notes that are going on. And they all come down to the action we take. So yeah, I guess there is a lot in our control, because when we embrace the actions and know when they're supposed to be and how they fit together for this bigger picture, we move in a pretty seamless fashion. The times that we have hiccups, sometimes it's like, I'll just tell you, Scott goes to me we've been planning this for a whole month. It's time to live stream. And Scott comes back last week and goes, Jess, I think we need to do something with AdSense. And so and he's great. Here's exactly what you need to do because it involves a credit card. So you've got to put it all in there. Okay, good. Because I can set it, forget it. And here we go, right? All of our stuff is in process. Well, I did that. I did what I was supposed to do. I followed the steps. I took the stuff and I put it in the website in the right place. And AdSense denied me. So I'm like, oh, I guess I just didn't put it in the right place in my WordPress theme. So go back into the website, see what's going on. Yep, sure enough, there's another place I could put AdSense code, put it in there and save it. A day later, you have been denied. And I'm like, what is going on? So then I look for a third place. Sure enough, there's a third place for AdSense code inside this theme. So I put it there. Nope, no go. I get a note a day later. So, right, you've got a day and you act. It takes a day, you act again. So now I realized it was this morning, right? I realized this morning AdSense still had denied me. And I'm like, what does this actually mean for our live show? What are we going to do? So I seem to have done one of two things. One, it's all okay because it's in process. Two, I actually went in and I modified PHP code to put this thingy that we needed for AdSense inside the PHP code because nowhere inside the theme was working. And here we are. So I can't tell you what the solution was. I can tell you something worked because we are live streaming right now. So this is an example of things that are outside of our control. We think we know the steps. We're taking the steps that we know to be true, and it's not working. And we try again, and it's not working.
Like, following the instructions. You follow them, and still, things don't work. And so sometimes you just have to step away from the instructions and go with knowledge that you have already, and no matter how small that knowledge is,
right,
and work from there, because
and we have choices on how we can react. I could have been like, why didn't you come to me earlier? And been hashtag shouty boss, like Simon would say. What else could I have said? I could have said, well, I don't really have time for that. You just figure it out on your own. I know it'll be fine. That could have been a response. The response I had is a possible response. Okay, I'm so glad you gave me the steps by steps because that makes it easy for me to get done for you faster. And there are probably 10 or 12 other reactions that we could have if we really wanted to get into the types of personalities. And in the end, though, right, this is one of those things, we're taking the action, it wasn't working. And when it doesn't work, these hiccups, how we show up is going to affect how well we work together. Because then we finally got that done. Scott, love you, Scott. He's working up to the minute to make this happen so we can do things like play our open. We can actually live stream and have a URL that you can watch with us. And some of that stuff, we can do all the tests we want, but until we make the decision to go live and tell people about it and invite them to join us, we don't actually know what's going to happen, do we?
You know what? We actually, what's maybe important and what people forget, we pull up our sleeves and we work, and that's the rest
together.
Yeah, and we work together, and that goes with the rest of the team for Pam and Amanda, because that's what we do. We face the problem, or we face the issue, or whatever there is out there, we face it together and we work together. But we all work. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. And we do not freak out.
Oh, I freak out.
Oh, yeah, internally. But you freak out in some, you go to your closet and you freak out there. I freak out in some other way. But when we actually have to work together,
yes,
we do not freak out. We come as a rational and professional people, and we do the job. And that's it.
And
that's
there's
the
nothing
recipe.
there's nothing like a deadline to motivate too, huh?
Well, that's true. but
yeah, well, it's true. Deadlines, teams, actions, how we show up together. Because here's the thing, I love you guys to death, and there are things you do that drive me crazy. And I know I'm the same way. If I did not think that was reciprocal, that would just be very poor of me. I know it's reciprocal. I know there are things I do that drive you guys crazy. And in spite of that, we show up and work together. And that is the part that I really like about how our workflow is, what we're doing, and the way that we're willing to explore, take a risk. What's the worst that can happen?
I don't know, Scott, have you heard this? I mean, we are driving her crazy. Seriously? After all these years, we hear that now in a live show?
Now you tell us.
Apparently it's a one-way street. Well, it's not anymore. Mwah.
Love you, Jess.
Mm-hmm. Right back at you, babe. Right back at you. But it's true. I mean, it's true. And here's the thing. We can't work together and not get irritated with each other. And the reason for that is, and this is any relationship, and when we feel like there's friction or we're seeing what drives us crazy or is triggering us in some way, really, we have to rethink our own thinking. Why do we have to rethink our own thinking? Because somewhere along the line, we have an assumption. And our friction, our reactions come from the assumptions that we have about others. Oh, I expected you to do it this way, but you didn't. And now my feathers are in a ruffle because it's not going to go the way I planned, is one example. What do you guys think about that?
Assumptions are parents of all the mess that we can ever create. Mm-hmm. And the more I work, the longer I'm in business, I train myself not to make assumptions. I think that soon I'll probably be assumption free, but that's not something that comes easy.
Wow, I'm impressed. I don't think I can ever be assumption free. I can keep working to recognize when I'm making them. So I'm going to be in a different camp than you. You might have to be my teacher for that.
Oh, okay, sure. You're not far away, I have to say, because the moment you start recognizing that you have an assumption, that's the step. That's the big one.
Yes.
After that, even if you can be an assumption free just by recognizing it and saying, okay, I'll step back and let's see what should I let go? Mm-hmm. How should I respond to that potential assumption? So we can never be assumption free, but let's say that I am close to be almost assumption free.
Mm-hmm.
So and we can always talk about that, because, and it took me a while,
Yeah.
I'm over 20 years in business, so it took me a while to get that. It's not something that happens overnight, but actually, working with a team, creating something for other people that can learn and, that they can simply go to and look for some good insight or smart business actions or tips or anything that can help them, is all that it takes. Those feather ruffling and assumptions and the way we do things differently, which is, by the way, completely normal stuff because we are not the same. We all approach to our parts of businesses, in a different way. But all that, comes to an actual fact that together we provide something that is really good, that we are proud of. Mm-hmm. And, maybe this is a good moment to say, that it would be really nice to get from the viewers, listeners, now or later, some kind of a feedback, because three of us actually want to hear what you have to say about the show, not just this one, but about the other shows, and what do you like, what do you don't like, so because what people say actually can improve us. And I think that having a live show is one way to improve their experience and one way to improve what we do. So we have like two potential improvements in one action, if it makes sense.
You make such a good point. The feedback is really necessary. The subscriptions, the comments, what you really liked, what you wish we had talked about, all of those things not only allow for upping our game in programming, upping our game in research, also shapes what it means to be a leader in business today. And that, my friends, all of you listening, watching, everybody who's worked with me on any project, or anybody who's worked with a whole bunch of different personalities on a project, you guys know this. It's in that nuance, the way that we show up and the commitment and the intention that we have that ultimately makes us successful and able to work through conversations, hard conversations and problems together or not. And the things that fail, I mean, let's be really honest. There are things that fail for a lot of reasons, and we can rationalize those away. In my opinion, rationalizations are just as bad as assumptions. And it's easy to rationalize, oh, they're just the way they are. Oh, it was totally out of their control. Oh, life just happens to them all the time at the wrong time. Well, the rest of us are living too, and life is happening to all of us at the same time in our own way and on our own journey. And it's how we choose to show up and our intention around that. And I think that is what makes the three of us work really well together. We know our intention, we know our strengths, we know the skills we have versus the things we would really like to do, because all three of us bring our skills that are awesome to this project, and all three of us do things because we can to make it happen that we really don't like to do. Can I speak for you guys when I say that?
Oh yeah, for me, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, but that doesn't make a difference, I'm still proud of being a part of the project,
Oh, cheers to that. I know, right? I would not change it for the world, because the excitement, the fun, the work it's work, and it's hard work, and it requires effort. Yet in that hard effort that is going on, there is an ease underneath it that makes it real and fun.
Well, you know how I like to say, me, I like to say, you do things two ways. You either do them the way you're supposed to do them, or you don't do them at all. So either do it right or don't do it. There is no in the middle, anything in the middle. So with all the hardship and doing stuff that we might not even like, we still have something that we are proud to be part of. And
the result is what we want.
Well,
Yes.
What do you think, Scott?
Sure, I agree with that. I'm also reminded that I think we're going to be looking back on these days as the early days, the golden age of the breaking out into new avenues. We're doing everything the best we can now, and quite frankly, I'm so proud of you, Jess, and Eva, and the rest of the team, because the shows that we've put on are absolutely fully, what's the word I'm looking for? Worthy of our audience. And you're saying, Eva, if it's not worth doing, don't do it at all. It's a paraphrase of what you've said, and it's that striving towards a certain amount of excellence that I think that we've all been going towards. And as we talked about on a recent show, the proof is in the pudding. What do you think, Jess?
Mm-hmm. And we have come to the end. So when we record, what comes out on Fridays that gets edited out is, and that's it, or that's the end, or What else do I say? That's the variety of what I say.
Can we make, Scott, this is actually a question for you, maybe for the end, maybe we should have, like when they are done filming, movies, they have those snippets of fun, unedited stuff in the background. So maybe we should have something like that for the end.
Oh, I like that, right? So there's that, what is it? That's Bad Robot is a current one. When I was a kid, at the end of Family Ties, they would say, and a lot of TV shows, they would say, sit, boo-boo, sit.
Oh, how did I miss that?
I don't know. Go watch an old Family Ties and get to the very end, because that's what they'll say. I think it was the production company. So, Scott.
Okay. Well, it'll be my turn, and that's it. Goodbye. Let's all wave and goodbye. See you, and listen to.
But you can't turn us off yet.
No,
because I have to do my close, and you have to play the close, right? This is a live show.
So you still have a close to do, Jess?
I do.
All right. So I'm gonna,
there we go. That's it.
Hand it over to you. It's all yours, Jess.
See, we're going to get good at this, meaning this is exactly the way it's going to go, and it's going to move smoothly. So the thing is, from the initial idea to what we do, to who we know, to what skills are needed, the team that we choose really must be really, really real with each other, because of so many moving parts in a project. And it doesn't matter if you're a project team of 1, 10, 100, there are a lot of moving parts to be aware of and hold. The right people on the team, the right intention when we show up to do the work is what makes the difference. So we can't remove headaches. We can't remove problems. There's always going to be stuff that's out of our control. There's always going to be things that make us a little edgy once in a while. And even during that time, when we show up the way that we want, with the end goal in mind, with the amazing love and intention that other people are also showing up with, we can move mountains. We're supporting the end vision and each other at the same time. And I don't know how to transition between this and the closing, so we might need something like that too.
Okay. Well, here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Subscribe at thevoiceofboldbusiness.com and get more information, program notes, and past episodes. Bold leaders approach each situation and focus on action to achieve a higher level of leadership. Jessica Dewell, your business advocate, is the host of the Voice of Bold Business Radio. Thank you for joining us.